shooter set in the grim, dark universe of Warhammer 40,000.
Let's be completely real for a second. If you had told a Nintendo fan a couple of years ago that a game utilizing Saber Interactive's custom swarm engine, capable of rendering literally hundreds of Tyrannid bugs on screen simultaneously, would be running natively on a portable Nintendo console, they would have laughed you straight out of the room. The original Switch would have melted into a puddle of plastic trying to handle a fraction of this game's geometry. But Focus Entertainment dropped an absolute hammer at the Direct, confirming that Lieutenant Titus is making landfall on the Switch 2 this upcoming holiday 2026 season. This port is shaping up to be the ultimate technical stress test for the console's architecture. We're talking about intense, gory, fast-paced third-person action with zero cloud streaming shortcuts. It's a fully native local hardware port that includes the entire 3-player co-op campaign, alongside the addictive PvE operations modes. Witnessing a massive heavy current gen engine running smoothly in the palm of your hand is exactly why the community was begging for a hardware generation jump in the first place. Saber Interactive has a reputation for wizard-tier ports, but pushing the raw carnage of the Warhammer universe onto a portable system without gutting the core experience, the particle effects, or the enemy density is a whole new level of impressive. It's all about how that updated architecture handles high bandwidth assets on the fly. If you missed out on Lies of P originally, it is widely considered one of the absolute best, most polished non-FromSoftware Souls-likes ever made. It takes the classic story of Pinocchio and twists it into a dark, grim dark fantasy world filled with rogue automatons, blood-soaked streets, and a thick, suffocating Belle Epoque atmosphere. While the original version was already an incredibly well-optimized title on other systems, bringing the complete edition over to the Switch 2 natively means handheld players are getting the definitive, feature-complete package. We're talking about the base game, all the highly requested weapon balance patches, and the major DLC expansions completely integrated right out of the gate. Performance-wise, this port is a dream. Souls-likes demand precision. A single frame of input lag or a sudden stutter during a parry window means instant death. Thankfully, the hardware handles the game's intricate particle effects, damp, reflective streets, and lightning-fast combat animations with absolute ease. The weapon assembly system, where you can combine different blades and handles to completely change your moveset, feels great to tinker with during shorter play sessions. It's an incredibly sharp, rock-solid conversion that doesn't sacrifice the stellar art direction or the tight, punishing gameplay that made it a breakout hit in the first place. We have an absolute technical shocker from Capcom Dragon's Dogma 2. Now, let's be completely honest. When Dragon's Dogma 2 initially launched on home consoles, it was an absolute beast to run. Even high-end PC rigs were chugging in dense urban areas like Vernworth due to the sheer volume of CPU-heavy NPC simulations and complex physics calculations. So, seeing this massive Dark Arisen Expanded Edition announced natively for the Switch 2 is a massive flexing of muscles for this hardware. Capcom's optimization team has clearly been doing some black magic under the hood with the RE engine here. They've brought over the entire sprawling, emergent open world, where a stray griffin can crash your fight with a cyclops at any given second. And it's running locally right in your hands to make this work smoothly. They are heavily utilizing the Switch 2's modern architecture, leveraging advanced upscaling to keep the action crisp, while managing the heavy physics loads. The Dark Arisen subtitle means we're getting all the massive post-launch updates, balance overhauls, and brand new brutal endgame areas packed with terrifying new monsters. The gameplay remains as satisfyingly chaotic as ever. Climbing up the back of a massive beast to stab it in the eye feels incredible when you can take that experience on the go.
Plays Nero, Dante, V, and Virgil.
Capcom is doubling down on stylish action with Devil May Cry 5 Devil Hunter Edition. Look, Devil May Cry 5 is arguably the pinnacle of the character action genre, offering an unbelievably deep, high-skill combat system across 3 completely distinct characters and eventually Virgil. Pushing this game onto a portable format without losing that blistering mandatory target frame rate is a massive achievement. The Devil Hunter Edition for Switch 2 is specifically tuned to maximize the console's hardware capabilities. It includes all the extra content, Virgil as a playable character right from the start, and a specially optimized turbo mode that increases the overall game speed by 20% for the ultimate reflex test. Because the RE engine is so incredibly scalable, the developers have managed to preserve the hyper-detailed character models, the fluid cloth physics, and the spectacular screen-filling particle effects during high-level smoke and sexy style combos. Seeing Nero's mechanical arms rip through demons, or Dante switching between 4 different fighting styles on the fly with zero hitching, proves that the Switch 2 is a powerhouse for high-action, high-fidelity gaming that doesn't compromise on competitive-grade performance. Alright, real quick, we just launched a brand new channel called GameRan. If you want the same coverage, but for all platforms, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Not just the Switch, head down to the description and hit that link. Subscribing over there helps us out immensely as we push for that first 1,000 sub milestone. Seriously, thank you guys. Now let's get right into the next game. We have a massive surprise for PC veterans and MMO fans alike. RuneScape Dragonwilds is locking in a September 15th, 2026 release date for the Switch 2. Now, if you haven't been tracking this one, Dragonwilds has been making a ton of noise during its highly successful run in Steam Early Access, crossing over 1 million copies sold. But bringing a brand new modern open-world survival crafting spin-off of the legendary Gielinor universe natively onto a portable Nintendo console. That is a brilliant direction for Jagex, and it shows how much third-party variety is flooding onto the hardware in its second year. This isn't your traditional point-and-click MMORPG. Dragonwilds drops you, either solo or in co-op teams of up to 4 players, onto a completely unexplored shattered continent called Ashenfall. The core gameplay seamlessly blends classic RuneScape skill grinding with heavy survival crafting mechanics. You're chopping trees, mining ore veins, brewing complex potions, and foraging to build up fortified shelters. The massive twist here is survival through sorcery. The game lets you harness wild magic to completely bypass standard survival chores. We are talking about summoning spectral axes to clear entire lines of trees with a single swing, or conjuring literal tornadoes to harvest fish from a lake. Performance-wise, Jagex is delivering a fully native local hardware experience that manages the open world sandbox beautifully. The stylized art direction looks incredibly clean on the portable display, and the frame rates hold rock solid, even when you and 3 friends are casting explosive skill spells while fighting off massive screen-filling elemental dragons. It's a deeply addictive, highly social multiplayer gameplay that feels beautifully optimized for on-the-go gaming sessions.
Heed me, O kingless. Whosoever hath truly earned.
Now, if you've been following Atlas over the last few years, you know they've transformed from a relatively niche JRPG studio into an absolute juggernaut. But historically, getting their cutting-edge flagships onto a Nintendo handheld has felt like pulling teeth. We used to wait years for stripped back, highly compromised legacy ports that struggle to maintain basic frame rates, but seeing Metaphor running natively on a handheld without relying on a laggy cloud stream. That is a massive testament to what the Switch 2's hardware is actually capable of now that it's been out in the wild for a full year. We're talking about that unbelievably intricate, high-style user interface, the massive real-time meets turn-based tactical combat, and sprawling fantasy cities all running completely local under the hood of that updated NVIDIA architecture. It's got that signature breathtaking art style that combines medieval fantasy with modern political thriller elements, and the local hardware allows those sharp lines and vibrant colors to pop without any compression artifacts. For fans of deep RPGs, this announcement is a massive victory. Atlas is pushing the technical envelope here, delivering a massive 100-hour-plus experience that scales beautifully to a portable form factor. Seeing a dense, mechanically heavy current-gen JRPG running natively proves that the Switch 2 isn't just a minor incremental upgrade, it's a completely different class of hardware that's finally allowing handheld players to experience modern masterpieces exactly the way they were meant to be played, with crisp resolution and rock-solid performance. Vanillaware fans can finally rejoice because Muramasa Revenant Blades is officially a reality. For over a decade, fans have been begging for the gorgeous hack-and-slash masterpiece Muramasa the Demon Blade to be rescued from older legacy platforms, and yesterday's Direct delivered in the biggest way possible. This isn't just a simple high-definition port. Revenant Blades is a massive, rebuilt definitive edition that combines the original base campaigns, the Genroku Legends DLC stories, and completely new, beautifully animated chapters. If you know Vanillaware, you know their signature art style features some of the most stunning hand-drawn 2D sprite work in the entire industry. On the Switch 2, these visuals look absolutely breathtaking. The colorful mythological Japanese backdrops, the massive screen-filling bosses, and the lightning-fast sword slashes look sharper and more vibrant than they ever have before. The game utilizes the extra horsepower to deliver silky smooth transitions and completely flawless, high frame rate scrolling action, even when the screen is entirely cluttered with enemy ninjas, magic spells, and flying steel. The combat has been subtly refined, offering tighter combo windows and an updated forge system for the game's massive arsenal of demon blades. It's a gorgeous, mesmerizing celebration of classic side-scrolling action that feels perfectly tailored for the system's display capabilities.
You do well to follow his example. I thought you'd see the
Capcom is resurrecting a legendary, long-dormant franchise with Onimusha Way of the Sword, officially locked in for a September 25, 2026 release date. Capcom went absolutely all out here, deploying their highly scalable RE engine to construct a dark fantasy Edo period Kyoto that looks dripping with atmosphere and twisted by malevolent forces. The big hook, the legendary samurai Miyamoto Musashi, is modeled directly after the iconic classic actor Toshiro Mifune, giving the game an incredible cinematic gravitas right out of the gate. The gameplay structure here is a massive breath of fresh air. The developers explicitly stated that this is not a Souls-like. Instead, it's a return to more deliberate, grounded, tactical swordsmanship. You're observing your opponent's stance, managing stamina, and utilizing a prolonged parry system that actually lets you steer enemies into hazards or off balance. It all culminates in the satisfying break-Issen execution, strikes that literally dismember rank-and-file demons on the spot. You've also got a sentient gauntlet that vacuums up defeated souls to power up your Oni armaments or trigger Oni vision to hunt down hidden threats. On the Switch 2, Capcom is even leveraging the new Joy-Con hardware to allow for fluid motion-controlled slashing alongside traditional button setups. Because it's built on the RE engine, the game looks spectacularly sharp and runs flawlessly, showcasing fantastic optimization for on-the-go action. It's an absolute dream come true for classic Capcom purists who just want a high-fidelity, standalone, linear action adventure.
Returns to its roots with cinematic pixel art. In a classic
Square Enix absolutely stole the show for classic RPG purists by unveiling Final Fantasy Resonance, locked in for an October 22 release date. Square has completely mastered the HD 2D aesthetic over the last few years with games like Octopath Traveler and Triangle Strategy, but this marks the absolute first time the mainline Final Fantasy name is getting the full high-end HD 2D treatment. What makes this project incredibly fascinating is its origin. Square Enix is taking the dense, lore-heavy narrative arc from the defunct mobile title Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, completely stripping out every single ounce of gacha mechanics, microtransactions, and mobile fluff, and rebuilding it from the ground up as a premium console-quality standalone adventure. The result looks spectacular. Resonance is a beautiful, nostalgic love letter to the pre-FF11 era of the franchise. It features a complete return to traditional, highly strategic turn-based combat, a sweeping story centered around protecting the world's crystals from a menacing dark knight named Veritas, and massive cinematic summon animations that blend old-school pixel art with modern dynamic lighting and particle physics. Getting a massive, standalone, narrative-driven Final Fantasy game that plays like the golden era masterpieces but runs with modern architectural fluidity is a massive win. Square Enix is proving that the platform is the absolute perfect home for high-concept, classic turn-based excellence. Monolith Soft did what they do best and completely shattered expectations by unveiling Xenoblade Genesis. Monolith Soft has always been the studio that pushes Nintendo hardware way past its perceived limits, and now that they've had a full year to master the Switch 2 architecture, they are delivering a visual and narrative spectacle that looks absolutely jaw-dropping. Genesis appears to be a massive historical prequel or a soft reset for the franchise, dropping players into a breathtaking primeval world filled with gargantuan roaming megafauna and ancient unexplained technology. The scale on display here is frankly ridiculous. The draw distances stretch out for virtual miles with zero aggressive level of detail popping, allowing you to see massive structures floating in the clouds or giant monsters migrating across distant plains in real time. The battle system takes the refined, seamless, real-time tactical combat of previous entries and cranks up the speed, introducing a new environmental traversal mechanic where you can fluidly transition from running on foot to piloting high-mobility exploration gear without a single loading screen. The updated hardware allows for incredibly dense foliage, realistic weather patterns that actively affect combat parameters, and beautiful, expressive character models. It's a massive, sweeping epic that clearly positions itself as the next generation benchmark for the entire system. Square Enix absolutely blew the doors off the showcase with this one, and honestly, it felt like a collective sigh of relief went up across the entire community. For years, Nintendo fans have had a pretty complicated, deeply frustrating relationship with the Kingdom Hearts franchise. When Square finally brought the mainline entries to the original Switch, they chose the easy way out by locking them behind those infamous laggy cloud streaming versions. If your internet connection dipped for even a second, your game was virtually unplayable. Well, Square Enix is righting that wrong. Not only did they show off stunning new gameplay footage of Sora traversing the hyper-realistic, Shibuya-inspired streets of Quadratum, but they confirmed Kingdom Hearts 4 is launching natively on the Switch 2 right at launch. No streams, no server queues, and no compression artifacts, just pure local hardware rendering Unreal Engine 5 right on the device. Getting a mainline, cutting-edge Square Enix flagship on Nintendo hardware on day one is a historic turnaround. It's a complete technical reset for the series on a portable platform. Seeing Sora's Keyblade combat look that remarkably crisp, fluid, and detailed on a handheld without a single hint of video stream stuttering or input lag proves that the Switch 2 is bridging the gap, turning what used to be a compromised ecosystem into a prime destination for major third-party blockbusters.
Long ago, there was a land called Hyrule.
Nintendo closed out the entire Direct with the ultimate mic drop, a fully realized, built-from-the-ground-up remake of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time scheduled for later in 2026. Look, we've seen Ocarina upscaled, we've seen it remastered on the 3DS, and we've all emulated it a million times over, but seeing Hyrule completely reimagined with modern geometric density, breathtaking real-time atmospheric lighting, and incredible environmental depth running locally on the Switch 2. It literally gave the entire gaming community goosebumps. This isn't a simple high-definition texture pass or a lazy emulation port. It's a total structural rebuilding of what is arguably the most influential and revered video game ever made for gaming historians and fans alike. This release is nothing short of a dream come true. Having the definitive modernized version of Ocarina of Time running smoothly on a portable machine, fully realized with modern assets, is the exact reason why this hardware leap was so necessary. Nintendo is clearly treating this project like the crown jewel it is, utilizing the full performance overhead of the Switch 2 to deliver a visual fidelity that honors the original scale of your childhood imagination. Okay guys, tell us in the comments which games you're most excited about, and if you enjoyed the video, hitting that like button helps us out a ton, and if you're new here, consider subscribing. As always, I'm Cyril, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.